they gave them a channel. They decided to store the bench and the water bucket in the coat room. It was like it goes with the piano.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, well,
nothing is intuitive right now.
No.
Anyone.
yep, I agree. It's something. That's nice. Okay. I knew I would have a minion. I counted on it. Oh. You can keep chatting for a minute 30. God bless. Not during worship, before and after. You could take a photo. Yeah. Let's see if that's working. Okay. You can hum along. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So the season outside can't quite decide. Are we fall moving toward winter? Are we fall moving back towards summer? Maybe we're fall staying in spring. I never know from week to week what it's going to be like. It's been a gorgeous day, and it's a nice way to segue into Shabbat. A beautiful day. I think, although we're going to have some cloud cover, I think actually we're going to manage to stay dry, which is nice, and maybe even the clouds will push further off, so we have what to celebrate both outside, but especially inside, as Mason celebrates achieving a new status in his life as bar mitzvah. And we welcome family, friends, cousins. I'm going to call Mason and Mom and Dad up to the candle table. We're going to light candles. Okay. And you're going to light the candle first. Yeah, you can pick it up. Yep.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu laha l'gner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Excellent job, Amen. Don't leave the sanctuary. Mazel. Mazel. We welcome Shabbat with Psalms, a journey called Kabbalat Shabbat. I'm still getting used to hitting my clicker, but before we do that, why don't we turn to page 9. If you're on the live stream and you're joining us remotely, welcome. Shabbat Shalom. There is a link in the Thursday news and notes, which also has our weekly Shabbat links these days. That's where you can find them if you've been wondering. And you'll find that there's a link to a PDF that follows pretty much 99% of our service. Let's read together page 9. We'll read responsively. There are days, too many, when we seek things for ourselves and we measure our failure by what we do not gain. Together on Shabbat, we seek not to acquire but to share. And there are days, too many, when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation, and there are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. Together, so we embrace Shabbat, of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We're going to take that journey through creation, beginning with Psalm 95, Lechuna Ranana, on page 12, or right up on the wall.
Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Lechuna Ranana, Naria, Naria, let's so yishayno nekadma fanav b'toda. Naria, Naria, let's so yishayno bezmirot Nariano. Lechuna ranena, lechuna ranena, lechuna ranena, lechuna ranena, lechuna ranena, lechuna ranena.
Ruah right on the wall, or you can find it at the bottom of page 14.
Or zarua la tzadik, or yishele simcha. Or zarua la tzadik, or yishele simcha. Or zarua la tzadik, or yishele simcha. Or yishele simcha.
We approach Shabbat as sacred time, not merely the weekend, but the completion of the week. But we also envision Shabbat embodied and personified, the one whose return we have awaited as our beloved friend and lover, Sabbath bride or queen, groom or king, whatever metaphor. We envision Shabbat as the one that we invite to enter each week and join with us. The words of Lecha Dodi from the mystics of northern Israel. We have as our custom pages 20 and 21. We're going to sing verses 1, 2, then 5 and 9, and we'll rise for the final stanza and turn toward the entryway at that time and invite Shabbat to enter. Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Yishmianu el ha-meyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki mekor ha-beracha Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tehila Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Hit'oreri, hit'oreri Ki va'orech kumi ori Uri, uri, shir daberi Kevod Adonai alayich nigla Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela
We rise for the 9th stanza. Turn and face the entryway and bid Shabbat to come and join us.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekavela
And I'll invite you to have a seat for a moment if you like. With apologies, there's a lot of up, there's a lot of down. As I say each and every week, if you want to stay seated, stay seated. If you want to stay standing, that's fine as well. We don't have to have uniformity in the sanctuary, whatever helps you to focus on your prayers. We are at Psalm 92, the traditional psalm with which, when the temple stood in Jerusalem, the Levites and their choirs would welcome Shabbat, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat. That's page 22, or right up on the wall.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד
We rise in body and or spirit as we are able for the Reader's Kaddish, page 26, or right up on the wall.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עליה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרמה ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה. Amen.
The call to worship, Baruch Hu, page 28.
Ya na 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 ya na 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 ya 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 na na Bye.
like to have a seat, we join together, top of page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide, and your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course to eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. We join with the cantor in the singing of Ahavat Olam.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אתה תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נוקך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו אורך ימינו באורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם בלילה יומם בלילה ואהבתך תשים ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Shema.
ישראל שמו ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
We are on page 36, the paragraph of Shema Be'ahavta. Mason, come on up.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ובשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ואבי שעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Yes, Koyach. You get to leave that one and take yours. Good job. We are on page 39, or right up on the wall. Together, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Words of Mi Chamocha as we walk through the sea of despair to freedom, page 40, or right up on the wall.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef eleh, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, malchutecha ra'u v'anecha b'kayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nedar b'kodesh. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shemo.
גאל ישראל.
Page 42, you'll find the words that we'll sing in a second of the Hashkivenu. I commented last week, and as I do on occasion, that the Shema and its blessings that we worship are really ultimately theological statements from our ancestors about what we mean when we say God. That whatever God is the creative force in the universe. So we have a prayer about creation and light, because light is the first thing created. We have a prayer about God's love expressed to us through revelation and Torah. We have a prayer about redemption, about freedom and liberation and walking through the sea. In the evening, though, as the dark falls, and certainly for our ancestors, it was a scarier time than the daylight, a prayer for safety as we lay down to sleep, and the hope that we arise to a world renewed, a little bit safer, a little bit more peaceful, and that we lie down in safety. So with all of those thoughts, I always like to invite you, even when we're singing the Hebrew, to be attentive to the English translations, interpretive and literal, that you'll find on the page. Hashkivenu, page 42, or right up on the wall.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shamreinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shamreinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Save us for the sake of Baruch Atah, Atah Adonai, Haboreh Sukkot Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
The covenant of Shabbat is the meeting place between the God of the universe and eternity and the tiny people of Israel. The Lubavitcher Rebbe used to teach that if the Jewish people would observe 2 Sabbaths in a row, the Messiah would come. I'm not quite sure that that's my theology, but I do think that it is the touch point, Shabbat, between our identity as a people and our affirmation of our place in the universe. You don't have to be
Shabbat bagi nafash, v'yom hashvi, v'yom hashvi. Shabbat bagi nafash.
We are on page 46 as we rise for tefillah. We're right up on the wall. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit as you are able.
Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל, אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללו הסלע, Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
And I invite, for those of you who'd like to have a seat, please do so. For those who'd like to remain standing till the end of Tefillah, you're invited to do so as well. We are at the top of page 55. We join together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Page 57 together. Ever-present one. May we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion, restored in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shotecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, atov shemcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. We conclude Tefillah with the prayer for peace on page 60, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take these moments now for our own silent prayer and meditation. There's a traditional text to begin that journey on page 62, some contemporary settings on 63, a blank screen on the wall, whatever helps you begin that reflection, meditation, and prayer.
Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegali, Vegali.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Long, long ago, after graduating high school, I spent my freshman year in a small collegiate program in Israel run by the then UAHC, now URJ, the Union for American Hebrew Congregations. A mere dozen of us, we were lucky to study with some of the finest academics in Israel, including a series of intimate class lectures given by an Israeli poet of some repute. One of the things about being 17 is you may be very smart, but not have a lot of sechel. I was privileged to have a series of sessions with the great Israeli poet Yehuda Amichai, which only on reflection, more than a decade later, I realized what a tremendous privilege it had been to have him as my teacher. In fact, one of my prized possessions is a book of his poetry signed to me that I sent Rissa off to Israel with when she was doing her studies. I was struck by how immediate and personal Amichai's comments were about a great triumvirate of ancient Jewish heroes and leaders, Abraham, Moses, and David, each a distinct and different kind of Jewish leader. David, King David, David HaMelech, was the sort of fellow that Amichai, if you know anything about Yehuda Amichai, that he most admired. The sort of guy you'd want to party hardy with all night long. Amichai was enamored of the scene described in 2 Samuel chapter 6, when the Ark of the Covenant is brought by David into Jerusalem. I'll read it in the English. Thereupon David went and brought up the Ark of God to the city of David amidst rejoicing. David whirled with all his might before the Eternal, and David was girt with a linen ephod, which many commentators, not just Amichai, said perhaps only a linen ephod. David brought up the ark with shouts and blasts of the horn, David leaping and whirling before the Eternal, kind of proto-Hasidism. To Amichai and others, this is a scene of religious abandon. David, half naked, in ecstatic frenzy, leading a parade with the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem. Now Moses, from Amichai's point of view, sat at the other end of the spectrum, halting of speech, reluctant, almost dour, a man to bear great burdens and accept, if not defeat, then not being allowed to finish the job, just in the sight of the promised land. And Abraham, the third of the characters. Abraham was the sort of fellow, Amichai put it, who would make a great next-door neighbor. The sort of guy you'd want as a mentor or a senior partner or maybe your husband. While the Torah puts Moses at the center of our story, quite literally, the rabbinic sages, while conferring the title of rabbi upon Moses, they were also busy keeping him altogether out of places like the Haggadah and much of the prayer book, lest we start worshiping Moses. While Moses may be the conduit for us of God's commandments, it is Abraham in the Torah and Haftarah, but especially the Haftarah we'll hear tomorrow, who is called God's friend. How often do you think about someone being called God needs a friend? Right? Not that God is Abraham's friend, but that Abraham is God's friend. Abraham, who is accorded the role of founder of the Jewish people. Avraham Avinu, as the song goes. Avraham Avinu Padreket. Abraham, who time and again is held up as an almost singular biblical role model, mason of all the characters that one could have as a role model for a bar mitzvah. You called it in your Devar Torah. What exactly is it about Abraham, though, that makes him a role model? You're going to get to hear Mason's read on this tomorrow, so please show up. The rabbis told fanciful yet compelling backstories about Abraham's younger years, and Mason will share some of them with us tomorrow. But for tonight, let's focus on Abraham plainly as the Torah text presents him. Abraham is, first of all, what we would call today a mature adult. That's a euphemism. We all know that, right? A mature adult. He has a successful marriage with a partner who is his equal. He has an adoptive son in the person of his nephew Lot, who was orphaned when Abraham's brother Haran died. Abraham is certainly well off. He's even really described as wealthy. He is a successful businessman, as attested to by the number of servants, slaves, and camels mentioned in this portion. Always count the camels. In fact, Abraham must have been comfortably settled in his elder years, kind of in semi-retirement, when God summoned him to leave, depart his familiar surroundings of his father's estate, and relocate a distance to coastal Canaan. But importantly for us, God doesn't ask Abraham to abandon his family, or his business, or his servants, or his wealth. This is a remarkable statement, given some modern assumptions and presumptions about what constitutes a life of religious or spiritual connection. Some traditions, both Eastern and Western, esteem abandoning one's possessions and observing monastic lifestyles. But Jewish tradition simply does not abide by that sensibility. Judaism does not ask us to abandon who we are, nor what we have acquired. Jewish tradition does not want us to renounce this world. The example of Abraham teaches us that in the fullness and richness of a life well lived, that there we may begin to sense the possibility of something greater, something more, a call, a summons. But that call, that summons, does not ask us to repudiate where we are, what we have achieved, what we have experienced. In fact, we are asked to bring it all along with us, but also to move beyond where we are right now. Lech lecha, the opening words. Go forth, get going. Our movement's prayer book, Mishkan Tefillah, that we're using tonight, might interpret this call as a call to disturb ourselves, as in the reading you can find on page 173, if you want to look, which reads, "Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency." Bluntly, I'm uncertain how I feel about a prayer asking God to disturb us or even discomfort us. But in God's summoning of Abraham, I do hear something close to that, but with a different nuance. Displace yourself, not merely geographically, but spiritually. Go beyond where you are at the moment. Lose yourself. To find ourselves, we need to get lost, or better, risk getting lost. We need to take a journey beyond where we are. We cannot grow spiritually, emotionally, or in almost any other significant way when we always insist on knowing exactly where we are, when we are never willing to travel beyond our comfort zone. But to do so, to travel that journey, requires that at first we be grounded, that we know where we are before we take the journey, that we have achieved some modicum of self-awareness, a modicum of self-sufficiency, of self-confidence that comes with experience, age, and achievement. That is what makes Abraham, from my point of view, and from my teacher, Amichai, such a powerful role model, so resonant for us, a worthy founder of our people, and a role model for modernity. Shabbat Shalom. As always, I invite responses, critiques, feedback. Send me an email after Shabbat, and I hope we'll have a dialogue. We are going, and please show up and hear what Mason has to say, either live or on the live stream tomorrow. We are going to turn to prayers for well-being and blessing for members of our community. I'm going to share aloud these names. You can find the text of the Mishaberach, if you want, on page 253. It's also right up on the wall. And we call to mind for blessing and healing Lori Blum, Chaya Malka Bat Chaya, Gloria Sancho, Helene Furman Gold, Jenny St. George, Chava Gittel Bat Freda, Yona Chaya Bat Miriam, Ruth Bat Binyamin Bachava, Steve Brown Inns, Yona Tevya Ben Label Begita Henya, Renee Fishzone, Moshe Ben Leah, Nancy Lazar, Delroy Aline, Alan Eisner, Max Estroff, Richard Salter, Gatel B. Ryan, Menashe Gavriel Ben Shlomo, Melech, Mike Zavala, Haika Bat Freda, Chaim, and Kim Petchek. If there are other names for healing, whether it's something minor, modest, or major, I invite you to share their names as my hand comes across the congregation. We join together.
Mi sheberach avoteinu mekol haberacha leimateinu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekol haberacha le'avatenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
King Yehiratson, may it be God's will. We're on pages 258 and 259, or right up on the wall as we join together. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance, and may they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country sound in body and spirit. Amen.
Amen.
O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love and spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our Holy Land. Grant them deliverance and adorn them in a mantle of victory. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And let us say, Amen. We turn to our concluding prayers. You'll find Aleinu on page 283. I invite everyone to please rise, or right up on the wall. Page 283. Please rise, everyone.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, לגאול עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ועומדים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרוב בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו, אין עוד את מלכנו, אפס זולתו, כה כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts turn to loved ones gathered with us through the blessing of memory. Call to mind on this Sabbath Eve these recent passings in the congregational community. Passing of Sandra Spannon, beloved friend of Laura Barnett. Send condolence to friends and family. The passing of Rose Cohen, the aunt of Gail Ressler. Passing of Bernard Bernie Lieberman, dad of Marissa Lieberman Broman and Adam, grandfather of Isla, Emily, and Asher, and passing of Miriam Mickey Mandel Fleet, the mom of Ellen Edelman, grandmother of Rebecca Layden, and great-grandma Charles, Alex, and Daphne. We also call to mind those whose yahrzeit falls at this season. Joy Browdy Takiff is recalled by Bill Gutman. Neil Berg is recalled by Jordan Berg. Suzanne Sloan is recalled by Carolyn Sloan. Lee Album is recalled by our congregational community. Rose Jonas is recalled by Nancy Lazar. Minnie Lieb, am I pronouncing that correctly, Miriam? Minnie Lieb is recalled by Miriam Kadowitz. Ida Schreier is recalled by our community. Adam Parrow is recalled by Ayat Singer. Lila Epstein is recalled by Larry Epstein. Charles Francis Goodman is recalled by Bobby List and Molly List. Seven, Umar Golnelson is recalled by Melis Bromberg. Melis, I'm going to keep getting that right. Work on it one of these days. Turkish is not my strong suit. Eileen Schneider, recalled by Dana Schneider. Ann Gottesman, recalled by Ross Brown. Nathan Pober, recalled by Ellen Rittberg. Lillian Johns, recalled by Laura Edidin. Jerome Chesson, recalled by Scott Chesson. Florence Chesson, recalled by Scott Chesson. Milton Summerfield, recalled by Tom Gardner. Esther Stempler, recalled by Helen Hockney. Isaac Mailer, recalled by the congregational community. Louise Nahas, recalled by Rebecca. Rebecca, have I pronounced that close to correct? Nahas? Nahas. Louise Nahas, recalled by Rebecca Fisher. Donald Mandelbaum, recalled by Ken Mandelbaum. Arthur Neufeld, recalled by our community. Melba Flyer, recalled by Alexis Flyer. Irving Wallace, recalled by Anita Goldstein. Matthew Houtman, recalled by Jody Houtman. Josephine L. Semmel, recalled by the congregational community. And Nathaniel Colbert, recalled by the congregational community. If I have inadvertently mispronounced any of these names, or if I have failed to share aloud the name of a loved one whose recent passing or whose yahrzeit falls on this occasion, I want to invite you to share the names of those loved ones aloud as my hand comes across. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may their memories be for blessing. We sanctify their names and their memories, even as we sanctify God's name and pray for the coming of God's realm. The words of the mourners, Kaddish, Kaddish Yatom, page 294, or right up on the wall. We join together as a community. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, B'yalma Divrach Hirultei V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayei Chon V'yomei Chon V'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, B'agalah U'vizman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Le'olam U'lalmei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal, Shemei D'kutsha B'richu, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechemata, Namiran V'yalma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Osei Shalom B'mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. May the source of peace on high cause peace to descend upon us, all Israel, our entire world. And let us all say, Amen.
Oseh Shalom b'mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael.
V'imru Amen. Please be seated, everyone. It is my pleasure to call upon the president of our congregation, Marcia Bellows, to share this evening's announcements with us.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, we have some thank yous first. Thank you to Rabbi Lip, Cantor, and Miriam. Also, thank you to our greeter, Alan Gertler. And a mazel tov to the Kaplan family. I know that Mason's bar mitzvah is going to be great tomorrow. We have a few announcements. 9:30 is Havara on Zoom, and I think I have last week's information.
Who's facilitating? I'm not quite sure, but if you tune in, there will be a facilitator. I believe it's Rabbi Sue Oren this week.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Rabbi Sue Oren.
Then 10:30, Mason's bar mitzvah and the sanctuary. And we have a few programmatic announcements. November 9th is the book group meeting, and they are going to be discussing Paragon by Cullen McCann. The Israeli Movie Watch Group meets next on October 29th. They are viewing The Farewell Party, a 2:14 film directed by Tal Granit and Sharon Mayman. Also starting October 20th, Rabbi Sue Oren will be teaching her Intro to Judaism course. We have a community event beautifying the Mishkan Oasis in Borough Park. They are coming to plant daffodils in the garden. So if anybody is interested in that, that is October 24th. And I believe that is all. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. So I'm going to append a few notes to Marcia's announcements. This coming week will be the week that adult education starts up. So I'm going to make a few promos for some of the things I'm teaching. Thursday mornings at 8:30 a.m., start your day, we're going to do some reading out of Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot is one of the chapters of the Talmud, and in many ways it functions as an introduction to the entire Talmud. It has no law in it. It is simply, you may know it translated as the ethics of the fathers. It follows the chain of tradition from Moses to Joshua down to the great sages. And if you've never read it, we're going to be reading Shmuley Yankowicz's social justice commentary. He's a modern Orthodox rabbi who is very focused on issues of social justice, and so we published by the Central Conference of American Rabbis, which might strike you as a sort of wonderful stretch. So if you'd like to join us, it's on Zoom. Everything's on Zoom with one exception. Please do join us on Thursday mornings. You have to reach out when the office is open on Monday, and Celine will give you all the log-on information. We have a new shaliach, that's an emissary from the Jewish Agency through UJA Fed. There are shlichim sent to this country from Israel ever since actually before the founding. And so we have a new shaliach, Elad Bar Ilan, joined us on Yom Kippur with his family. And he is going to be offering twice a month, I think, an opportunity for those who have basic conversational Hebrew skills. You don't have to read or write, but if you've got some speaking ability and you want to keep it going or you want to polish it, Elad is going to, in our library with the windows open, you have to have your vaccine card. He's going to be offering an opportunity to kibitz in Hebrew, in modern Hebrew, about a number of items going on in the Jewish and Israeli world. So if you'd like to meet Elad, again, find out what shlichim do, what our new shaliach does, find out about his family, just practice your Hebrew skills, please do show up. And we have a variety of other Hebrew courses going on as well. The Cantor's classes are going to come up a little bit later in November. And it's not too soon to tell you that the preschool book fair is November 14th. You might want, right, because it's a month away. Why am I mentioning that? Because the book fair, there'll be some great sales, because remember, the first night of Hanukkah is the Sunday night of Thanksgiving, November 28th. So I would invite for you, if you're thinking about such matters, and we all know all those container ships are stuck in ports, and when are things going to arrive? So it's not too soon to think about the preschool book fair on November 14th so you can get your items for Sunday night, November 28th, the first candle of Hanukkah, if you can believe that. Okay, I'm sure I probably have other things to mention, but those were the majors I wanted to add. A beautiful setting in the feminine of Lech Lecha, the weekly portion, Lechi Lach, the words spoken clearly to Sarah by God as well, as Abram and Sarai were sent on their way to the promised land. You can find the text, if you want, on page 341, or it's right up there on the wall.
Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach, and I shall make your name great. Lech lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechi lach, to the place that לשמחת חיים, לשמחת חיים, לתחילה. And you shall be our blessing, and you shall be our blessing, you shall be our blessing, לתחילה.
We are on pages 4 and 5. Mason, come on back up. Cantor is going to start us on page 4, and then Mason's going to lead us on page 5.
ויהי ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagavta.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, b'hava uvratzon, hinhilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishi, ki hu yom tehillah, למקראי קודש, זהר לתיאת מצרים,
קיבלנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנהלתנו. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
Amen. L'chaim?
Should I drink it?
Yes, you should drink it. You made the prayer. You don't want to... Don't go anywhere. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. V'te'avon bon appetit and Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
There you go. Have a piece. As we depart, let me encourage people to welcome one another as you depart the synagogue. Fresh air outside, which will be healthy and good. Yes, you may have a piece. Take it outside. Take it outside to eat, please. Take a piece and take it outside to eat. Take a piece and take it outside to eat. Take a piece, take outside to eat. Well, it's mostly the sugar. Oh, of course. Just going to ask you to take it outside for eating, please. Shabbat shalom. How are you? It's nice to have you.
that Tasha, right?
Yeah, it was,
I know it's always by video. It's always by video.
Yes. So, I don't know their faces. I mean, I saw them in Hoover School.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you too.
Did our social worker reach out to you?